Welcome. Thank you all for joining us today for Family Resource Centers supporting teen parents. I am Robin Shumwell, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. If you are joining us online, you may listen directly through your computer speakers. If you have joined via the phone number that Zoom provided, your line has been muted to minimize background noise. For those of you online, please note the link to the Dropbox folder in the chat. Here you will see that there are some handouts available for download. In addition, you may put questions in the questions section at any time. The chat section is open for you to include any comments during the webinar, but we ask that you direct all of your questions to the Q&A section of Zoom. We do have live tech support in the room. If you have any technical issues, please reach out to tech support in the chat. Today's PowerPoint, the handouts, and a recording of this webinar will be available on the National Family Support Network website on the Webinar Wednesday page by this time tomorrow. When you exit the webinar, an evaluation will automatically appear on your screen. We ask that you take a moment to complete this as it provides us with very valuable feedback to inform future webinars. Again, my name is Robin Shumwell. I am an administrative coordinator for the National Family Support Network, and I will be your moderator for today. So the first thing that we would like to do is get to know who is in the room. So first, would love to know where you all are joining us from. So you should have a poll that's popping up on your screen. Let us know what region you're coming from. And if you are coming from an international space that is covered in other international, please go ahead and drop that in the chat. We'd love to know where you're joining us from today. Give just a few more seconds here. And all right, let's find out where everyone is joining us from. Okay, so we have the most representation from the South, but also good representation from the Northeast, followed by the Midwest and West, and no international participants on yet today. So our next poll that we have is we would love to know what your affiliation is. So are you coming from a family resource center, a family resource center network? Maybe you're a parent leader coming from early care and education, government child welfare, perhaps you're a private funder or other. And if you are from that other category, please also feel free to drop your affiliation in the chat. We'd love to get to know you. All right, let's find out who's in the room. Okay, so our FRCs are well represented here with almost 40%. We have other family support programs. Feel free to drop those in the chat too. Would love to hear what those are. We got early care and education, government. Awesome. Great to have everybody here today. And then finally, our final poll is what level do you work at? Are you policy and systems level, management, program, something else? Feel free to drop that in the chat as well, if you were from another program. Give a couple more seconds here, find out where folks are from. I see we have someone in the chat, Family Support Center. Awesome, awesome. Sounds like you're at the program level. That's great. All right, let's find out what level folks are at. Okay, so again, our program level folks representing over half of our participants. We also have management level and some other. Feel free to drop what level you're working at in the chat as well so we can find out. Thank you all for letting us get to know where you're from. All right, so first I would love to introduce the National Family Support Network. Over the last decade, the National Family Support Network has quadrupled in size to now have 37 member networks, 36 states, and the District of Columbia that represent more than 3,000 family resource centers that serve more than 2 million people annually. The newest member of our network is Louisiana, who joined in June. The mission of the NFSN is to promote positive outcomes for all children, families, and communities by leveraging the collective impact of state family resource center networks and championing quality family support and strengthening practices and policies. The NFSN vision, simply put, is to turn that whole map green so that all families in every state will have access to quality family support services in their communities and provided by family resource centers supported by strong networks. So for today's webinar, what we will be doing is first, we will give an overview of family resource centers. Then we will move on to presentations from two family resource centers that work with teen parents, the United Way Family Center and the Young Family Resource Center. After that, we'll be looking at lessons learned from both programs, and then we'll have the Q&A that we mentioned, so please direct all of your questions to the Q&A in Zoom. Following that, we'll discuss the resources and opportunities available in the NFSN, and then we will finish with an evaluation. So thousands of family resource centers have emerged organically across the country, yet their existence is still largely under the radar as America's best kept secret. Generally, people have heard about them and think that they're the best thing since sliced bread, or they just haven't heard about them. A family resource center is a community or school-based welcoming hub of support, services, and opportunities designed to support families to be strong and successful. The top image is from a community-based family resource center in Vermont. The bottom is from a school-based family resource center in Kentucky. Family resource centers work with families with an approach that is not only two-generational, but multi-generational, strengths-based, and family-centered. Each of these concepts is important. So for multi-generational, have you heard of two-generational or two-gen work? Family support is the original, not just two-gen, but multi-gen work, as programs work with children, parents, and grandparents as well. They're also strengths-based because we see families as having strengths that we want to support them to build upon. And they are family-centered because everything that we do has families at the center. They are designed for families, not only for low-income or highly challenged ones, so the support they provide is non-stigmatized, making it more readily accessible. Programming is provided at no cost or low cost for participants. The image to the right is of a family success center in New Jersey. There are 57 family success centers across all of the state's 21 counties. Each county has at least one, and typically more than one, family success center. That includes highly affluent counties as well as highly challenged counties, because again, the belief is that all families could benefit from access to support for two of the most important roles we can have as adults, being parents and being spouses or partners. Two of the most important roles that we could have for which we typically receive no support or training, hence the value of universal access to family resource centers. So if you can let us know by a show of hands using the reactions in Zoom, how many of you have heard of the protective factors framework before today? You can also drop that in the chat. The Strengthening Families Protective Factors come from the Center for the Study of Social Policy. Research has shown that these 5 protective factors increase family stability, enhance child development, and reduce child abuse and neglect. So as we're working with families, we want to support them to build these protective factors because we know that they make a positive difference. The 5 protective factors are parental resilience, social connections, concrete support in times of need, knowledge of parenting and child development, and social and emotional competence of children. For more information on the protective factors, please visit the CSSP website. Again, this PowerPoint with these links will be available to you all after as well. So family resource centers are conveniently located hubs, and they bundle and co-locate many services that may be familiar to you, such as home visiting, evidence-based parenting education, health screening, play groups, fatherhood programs, family counseling, and food banks. Despite their organic development and varied funding streams across the country, there is remarkable similarity in their most common service areas. These are the top four based on research funded by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. First being parenting support, which exists on a continuum from a lighter touch, such as parenting workshops, to more intensive services, such as home visiting. And there's access to resources, which also exists on a continuum from a lighter touch, such as enhanced information or referral, to more intensive services, such as co-location of resources. Activities focused on supporting children's healthy development is another of the most common service areas. And then as well, activities supporting parent leadership development, such as parent advisory committees. FRCs not only provide programs, but build communities of peer support for families to develop social connections that reduce isolation and stress, which are highly correlated with child abuse. So we have three wonderful presenters today, and I will allow them to introduce themselves as they come on. And first, we will be hearing from Rosaura Diaz.
Hi, good afternoon or good morning, wherever you're signing in from. My name is Rosaura Diaz. I work for Felton. It's a regional nonprofit in San Francisco. We've been providing social services to San Francisco and other counties throughout California for over 100 years. So I'm here to talk about our Young Family Resource Center. We're located in San Francisco, California. We're actually part of an initiative in San Francisco where we have 26 family resource centers, each located in different neighborhoods. Ours, however, is specialized. We are the only population-focused FRC, and our focus is serving teens and young parents. So we serve participants from 13 years old all the way to 24 years of age. This resource center was founded in 2006 through historic advocacy for funding from the city to do this work. Charlene Clemens, a former director of TAP, she's now passed in 2018, I believe, but she was one of the key San Franciscans who advocated for funding for the Resource Center initiative. I thought I would mention her. But however, our mission is to serve children. We use a two-generational approach where we're providing social services for the parent and also for the educational services for the child. We do this in a number of ways. Next slide. So before I talk about the specific programming, I want to mention that before the FRC work, we had a program that was founded in 1981, about 41 years ago, which was called Teenage Pregnancy and Parenting Program. So a lot of the work that we do now in our FRC is grounded in this, groundbreaking work where we are providing comprehensive social services all in one building for teenagers in the early 80s and in the 90s. I wasn't around back then, I was still a baby. However, there was I don't want to say a crisis, but there in California, there was an increased rate of teen pregnancies throughout this time period where there was state and federal funding to kind of like provide support for the growing community need. So that's kind of like where we initially started. So through that work, we've continued and we provide comprehensive case management services for teens all the way to 8 to 19 in this particular TAP program. However, I do want to mention that Felton also offers early care and education programming for our clients. So we have 5 early care and education programs where we serve infants, toddlers, preschoolers, and this is one key component. I'll talk more about this later where I discuss co-location of services. I don't like to say it, but kind of we are like a one-stop shop. Like a youth can come and get connected with prenatal services through our TAP program, get connected to like mental health services, parent education workshops, all of the different services that we provide, along with getting childcare for their child from, I've seen from babies that are like maybe 6 to 8 weeks old for young parents who wanted to continue with their schooling. There's also a high school that's dedicated to pregnant and parenting teens that's located in the building as well, through a partnership with our local school district. So if you can imagine, we provide a safe, welcoming environment for youth to just come, drop off their children for childcare, and also get their high school education, all in one building. So this was kind of like the first program in California to do that. And it's been a model. We've had visitors from like internationally come to visit and learn from our services. Let's see. One thing I want to highlight is our programming is like peer directed, peer led, and we have a focus on involving the youth in the programming. We use a youth development model, peer-to-peer service, along with our two-generational approach. In our FRC, we hire 2 to 4 parent fellows. So it's a fellowship that we offer former participants or current participants to work part-time with us, help us with programming, and develop administrative skills, presenting skills, and also to support, engage the new teen parents that are coming into our care. Next slide. So I talked a little bit about our program called TAP, Teenage Pregnancy and Parenting Program, where we provide like case management. In the case management, we create this like comprehensive individual service plans where we work with students to create like short-term, long-term goals for themselves and for their child. I forgot to mention that in another slide. But here, I want to talk about a partnership that we have with SFUSD. Besides working with the young women and a few gentlemen who are enrolled in the high school that's dedicated for parenting youth, we work with them on a daily basis, but we also work with students who decided to stay in their comprehensive high school. We provide our YFRC services to clients citywide. And this is through a vast like referral network. We're affiliated with pretty much every hospital here in San Francisco, a few clinics. We send our team members to go to those clinics specific days out of the week where they make their teen appointments. We get referrals from other CBOs that know we specialize working with teens, and we have established partnerships with other agencies where we're able to provide these wraparound services for this specific population. So I wanted to mention a unique like program that we have within our program, which is like a preventative health education, kind of like with SFUSD. We developed a health education curriculum where we basically we go into every 9th grade classroom in the district, and we give a presentation on what it's like to be a teen parent. And this is our parent fellows that are co-facilitating, pretty much leading this presentation with some of our staff members. You can go to the next slide. And we do this curriculum where we kind of like, we talk about the cost of being a young parent. And it's pretty interesting how they do a lot of role modeling and kind of like help the youth understand like what is it like to be a young parent. And our parent fellows usually give their testimony during this presentation and kind of share their experience of growth of becoming a young parent. We do it for 2 ways as outreach for our services. We let the young people in the district know about our programming, and we usually get a few referrals from this work throughout the school year. But it's just another part of the work that we do to promote education around being a young parent and the resources available for them through our FRC. Can do the next slide. So I want to take a minute just to talk about our FRC. And one of the main things is that our programming is super flexible. It's flexible to meet the unique needs of like our population. And I think the COVID and the pandemic, our response to it kind of reflects that. We did so much during that time period that I know everybody here probably can reflect how that was definitely a challenging time. In our city, we did a lockdown in March. However, we didn't end our services. We were deemed essential workers, and we have a weekly farmers market where we distribute food. This was pre-COVID, but just when COVID hit, the financial needs of our young parent population and our overall ECE parent population, we serve more than 300 families. About a third of them are young parent population. We saw the need so great that we sought some external funding through existing and new partnerships that we developed to provide rapid response to the needs of the community. Part of that was securing funding to do diaper banks, to basically distribute diapers. And it was hard, man, to find diapers. There was a diaper shortage in our region, but we sought through different vendors to keep up with the supply. One of the programs I'm proud of that I couldn't believe that we were able to do in such a short period of time is we were able to secure funding to do rent relief for some of the families that we served, which was awesome to be able to, because we're education program and a social services. Our Family Resource Center is funded through the city, but they don't give us supplemental funds to do this type of like relief. And it was great to be able to do that for a year and a half. We also did like Foods Co. gift cards for them to supplement what the food that was being distributed, and just emergency basic needs that arose from the pandemic. And one of the other needs that through our FRC we were able to do was that we in the district, they didn't return to in-person programming not until like 2021. So for 2020 into 2021, they were doing this remote learning. So what we did is we opened up our FRC to create a hub for for our teen parents to come and do their distance learning in a space that was set up for them to use our computers, high-speed Wi-Fi, get tutoring, and also get childcare, so that they can focus on their school during this unprecedented time. I think this is something I just want to highlight, is that if you're thinking about opening up an FRC, or if you have an FRC already, like being able to like modify the program to meet the need of the community you're serving is like essential. I would say next slide. So now back to 2022. Sorry to make you go back in time, and now we're back in present time. We're back in person. This is a picture of our infant massage class. We basically offer all types of like parent education to support our young parents with. We really believe in like the 5 protective factors, and we implement them into every aspect of our programming. This presentation is just too short to really go in depth of how we do embed the factors into the work that we do. But one of the key things that we do is promote education for like build capacity of participants with their knowledge of child development, giving them resources so that they can basically build their capacity to like navigate the public ed system for themselves and for their children. We saw a need in the community that we serve, so we basically developed a new staff a role where they would basically, it's like a post-secondary, post-secondary and education coordinator. So this new role that we developed helps students beyond high school graduation, beyond enrolling in college, but making sure that they're on track for like completing, if they pursue a pathway in like higher ed, to help them navigate that space and or connect them to different workforce opportunities in our community. Next slide. So I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation that a little bit about our history. That's a picture of the building I'm currently sitting in. We're located in the southeast area of San Francisco in Mission District. So if you walk through those turquoise doors, the first floor is our ECE center. We have 10 classrooms, like where we serve infants all the way to preschoolers. And then on the second floor, we have our FRC, where we provide all of this programming for young parents. And then adjacent to our FRC is the high school, the Hilltop High School. That's a high school dedicated to serving teen parents. And how convenient is that? A lot of our students have gone on to graduate easily just because of having this supplemental wraparound services designed for them. So it's a cool thing to be a part of. Next slide. Here's a picture of one of our participants. Her name is Alejandra, and she just graduated last year with her son right there. So what are some positive outcomes that we've achieved through our FRC working with teen? One of our main goals has always been high school graduation. Even 40 years ago, that was one of the main goals. And I would say we have around 85 to 95% over 41 years of high school graduation. When I came on board about 7 years ago, I wanted us to look beyond high school graduation and make sure that we provided some wraparound service for post-secondary, completion as well. So as I mentioned earlier, we've created more resources to expand that scope of the work. But we also, one big thing that we partner with the district as well through our ECE programming is we want to make sure that all of our teen parent children, that they're kindergarten ready. So what we're doing is we provide parent ed workshops around kindergarten readiness skills that they can work with their kiddo at home, but also helping them understand what, in partnership with our educators in our ECE program, what's happening in the classroom and how they can support their kiddos' development and growth as they transition out of our Felton programming into like our district's K-12 system. Again, job readiness is something that we really promote. And one of the things that we do is that I would say many of our participants go to college and they come back and they work for Felton. They work as teachers in our ECE program. Some work as administrators. And in a minute, I'm actually going to show you guys a video of our Chief Operations Officer, who's like just below our CEO of our regional nonprofit. She's been working at Felton for more than 25 years or 22 or 23 years. I forget exactly how many years, but she actually started her journey as a participant in our TAP program. And if you want to go ahead and play that video.
You came to this country full of dreams. You raised us with many sacrifices, some of which as a child I did not understand. My childhood was not easy. Growing up in a neighborhood where gangs, violence, and alcohol were always present was very difficult. At 16, I had a human being growing inside me. I knew that I would have to face the consequences of my actions and tell you my reality. I was nervous. My hands were sweating, shaking, and my heart was pumping at 1,000 miles an hour. With tears in my eyes, my first words were, "I know that I have disappointed you, but I promise I will not disappoint you anymore." That was the moment of no return. I knew that my new reality would bring many difficulties in my life, but I did not let them daunt my dreams as a young mom. Now I realize that that moment, which I consider one of the most difficult in my life, is one I always use as a reminder that I can overcome my struggles and to push myself harder in all aspects of my life. When my daughter was born, I felt insecure because I didn't feel prepared and didn't know if I could provide what she deserved. At that moment, I knew that I would have to work hard to be a good example to her and to set a good foundation so that we could both have a successful life. Take advantage of the opportunities that this country offers. You can reach all your goals, is what my mom always says. Although my biggest fear is failure, it has not prevailed in my ability to take control of my life and take risk. I constantly remind myself of my fears and draw on my personal experiences to rise to the expectations. Mommy, you've been my motor, and my daughters are my drive and inspiration.
That video was created by our Chief Operations Officer. It just shows her beginning from being a teen parent, immigrant to San Francisco to being now, a very successful person. And what I love about, she wanted to actually present today, but unfortunately she's sick, unable to be here, but I did want to share that video and just talk about our organization and how we provide a lot of different opportunities for participants to integrate into our workforce. I think now I'm going to introduce Heather Chapman from the United Way Family Center. She's going to talk about her program.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Ms. Diaz. That was an incredible presentation and incredible work. So I'm bringing you all from the West Coast to the East Coast. Not as warm here as it is on the West Coast. And so we are sharing with you all today about our United Way family centers, and specifically our family center that is in South Baltimore. You can go to the next slide. So I'm sorry, I didn't even introduce. So I'm Heather Chapman. I'm Vice President of our Neighborhood Zones, which encompasses a number of initiatives, but our family center is, you'll hear a little more, but our family center really is, that serves our student parents as a spotlight and a sweet spot for us. And so at the United Way of Central Maryland, if you look at the map there, we really serve and support Baltimore City, and then 5 surrounding counties that you see there. And again, the area that we're going to be talking about today is in the south tip that you see there of Baltimore City. And so the 4 areas are four focus areas really are education, health, housing, economic advancement, and then the areas that all of those intersect. You can go to the next slide. And so our family center in South Baltimore, which is co-located in Ben Franklin High School, was started by Ben Franklin Center for Community Schools, which I happen to be a part of in 2014. And we could not have done it without the support of United Way of Central Maryland, which is where this center sits right now, which is what I'm happy to be a part of now. So with the funding support of United Way of Central Maryland, Maryland State Department of Education, and a host of private and other public funders, we were able to launch the center. And you can go to the next slide. It was really, so the whole idea of neighborhood zones and really the way that the center launched was really behind listening, deep listening with our students, with our community. So at that time, we were working in Ben Franklin High School, and they were working with our attendance team and working with climate in the school. And what we noticed is there were a number of students that just were not coming to school on a regular basis. And so, what we understood was that we needed to have we needed to find out from the most impacted our students, kind of what are the barriers, why aren't you coming to school, what's happening? And so what we found was, from talking to them, talking to community members, the top 3 issues really were around family issues, health issues, because where the school sits, it sits across the street from an industrial area. And so there were health issues. And then thirdly, childcare. There just were not options and access to childcare. At the time, childcare scholarships, childcare vouchers were frozen, couldn't access those. And so, that was kind of an area that we really socialized and started talking about, we need to do something about this so that our kids can come to school. We had mothers and fathers who were switching days off coming to school, many who had just sat out for a year, 2 years, and unable to finish matriculating through school. And so as we were talking about that, there were other supports and services that were really being built, utilizing the community school model. And those who are familiar with the community school model, the whole idea is really around strengthening the school in order to, with that thought of, if you strengthen the school and its resources, you can strengthen the community. And if you strengthen the community more, you're strengthening the school, because they both, there's an important relationship there. And so really building around there, co-locating resources in the school. And we really started to build out of the school and really locate additional resources, supports, initiatives in the neighborhood. You can go to the next slide. And that became neighborhood, the zone. So looking at a geographical area within that neighborhood where there are a whole host of resources, support, special initiatives that are really come out of listening, again, not as coming in saying, this is what we think needs to be done, but really listening to our neighbors, hearing, and our students and our parents, guardians, this is what needs to happen. These are the assets. So using the asset-based framework, these are the assets that are already here, the works that's already being done. And this is how we build on those things to fill in gaps and really coming together to create solutions together. So that's where all of these things came together. In this particular geographical area, there weren't a lot of resources because it's an area of Baltimore that is really cut off geographically. So to get there, you got to cross bridges to get there. And so there are people who live in Baltimore who've never been to that area of the city. And so you see here kind of a whole host of resources, everything from socio-emotional mental health resources, housing eviction prevention. So there's a eviction prevention program that assists and support families who are at risk for eviction or a utility cutoff, and with the goal of helping them stay in their home and to ensure that students stay in their home, either child care center or their home school, so they're not moving from place to place. digital equity, making sure we have free hotspots so that folks can access internet stably, workforce development, a whole host of things that are here. But the one we're really going to focus on today, although our student parents have access to all of those services, supports, and initiatives, really is our family center, which has additional supports within that piece. You can go to the next slide. And so our family center in South Baltimore, again, that started, I guess now it's been about 8 years ago, really is, we focus on it being attachment-based. And so we understand, and we've heard the protective factors, understanding that if we build a strong attachment between the parent and the child, that there's research says so much about the predictor of strong relationships later in life, than being able to be to obtain and maintain a job, doing well in school, so many things that is a predictor for. And so we really focus on attachment throughout the program, utilizing, for those who are familiar with Circle of Security, not just as a parent curriculum, but we use it from bottom to the top to the bottom, modeling with our staff, understanding that staff need to feel secure and feel that they have a secure base and feel safe. And if everybody feels safe, then they can be a safe and secure base for our participants, our student parents, and then those student parents can be a safe and secure base for their children. And so it really runs all the way down, because if we're, a staff, if we're all over the place and not feeling safe and not feeling secure, it shows in many ways. And when there's a rupture, because there will be in the work that we do, we come together, we work together to see, how do we work through this? And again, modeling that for our students and how that's done. In a healthy way. We're trauma informed. And again, you've already heard, the term multi-generational. And so really making sure we're supporting the entire family. So whoever's living in that household, it can be, cousins, uncles, grandma, grandfather, whoever it is, we're supporting that whole household. And it's so important to make sure that that happens, because whoever's in that house is really impacting that student parent and the infant and toddler. And so with each of our centers, the capacity because of space, it's 18 infants and toddlers, but we end up supporting more student parents. So anywhere from 25 to 30 intensely each year. And those are expecting and parenting. And so some don't have their kids directly in the center, but bring them for activities. The ages, if they're expecting, of course, expecting in the center, the age is 8 weeks. And then once they turn 4, we're doing a warm handoff to pre-K, Head Start, to make sure that they're continuing their education and they're ready to do that. Again, with the goals of this being, that they're graduating and graduating as close to on time as possible, that our young infants and toddlers, that they're on track when they're going into pre-K and Head Start, and that we're building a strong attachment. And so, just to walk you through a day and what a day looks like, if you don't know anything about Baltimore, Baltimore is school choice, which means you can go, for the most part, with the exception of a few schools, anywhere you want to in Baltimore City to school. So that we have folks that travel across the city to do that. And so our students are extremely committed to their education. And before we had a shuttle, we're taking 2 or 3 buses to get to school where they needed to get to this center or this center we have in West Baltimore. And we have essentially minimize this. So we have a shuttle now that actually starts as early as 5:30 in the morning. Again, committed students that starts that early to start picking students up, to bring them and their children in. So they get in, they check in with our staff, to let them know how the previous day went, how the morning went. They're changing diapers, getting them straight with food. We serve them a healthy meal in the morning. That student, the parent, goes to class, because again, we're co-located in that school. They go to class, and there's a licensed social worker that's on staff that is key to this program. So, and that's who is working with the student parent to develop what we call a success plan, right? So it's a service plan, essentially, And it's built between the parent and that social worker, really to line out, what are your goals? So what are your goals? You know, when you're here, what are we working on educationally, but not just here, what do you want to do after here? Are there things that you want to, you know, what is it that you want to achieve? Really want them to really think about it, think big, and they're working through those goals and their milestones and things that they hit, and celebrating those small and big successes is really important. And so the parent has a success or service plan, and so does the child in that classroom, because we're using Maryland State Department of Education curriculum with those children, making sure that they get assessments several times a year to make sure they're on track developmentally, socio-emotionally, getting referrals if they're not, and all of those things. And so they are being pulled sometimes by the social worker out of class if they need to get additional sessions. If short-term counseling is needed, we're providing that. Connections, resource referral is needed, case management, whole host of things. Anybody living in the home has access to all of those same things as well. Healthy lunches, mentioned that, how important nutrition is. We have a parent advocacy group. We call it a parent advisory group that meets with one of my staff that actually oversees all of our family centers. And we think that's really important because, one, we want them to see we value your voice, and we want to hear from them, you know, what's going well, what's not going well, what needs to change, and what should stay the same. And so we have those meetings on a regular basis, once a quarter, to talk and engage, but also to build leadership skills, advocacy skills, because we recognize and we tell them, you're not going to be with us always. So how do you, once you leave us, build those skills so that you're able to effectively advocate for your child, right? And so what we find is super funny, because they start using those skills when they're with us. And we laugh because we're like, we created this, when they're coming to us with, you know, questions, a lot of questions, and why, what about this, and why don't this? But we love to see it, because that's what we want to see before they matriculate out and leave to go somewhere else. And so there are a whole host of those things around, and yes, we will share that. I'll talk a little more if we have time about Circle of Security. It's there's a training that we send all of our key staff through, and then once they're trained, they train the rest of our teachers and aides and our driver around, so that they can utilize the key components of that. But it's really important. And we have, the other thing I'll say is that our staff are incredible. What we tell them, we tell them as we're hiring them that it's not easy work, that you know, there are a lot of kind of folks that may come in and have done childcare work at I guess your average childcare center before. And what we will often tell them is that this is not your average childcare center. It's not a childcare center. It is a family center. And so there is so much more that's required than the average place. And so it's not just, you're not just, you know, changing diapers and doing curriculum, which is really important, and loving on these babies and teaching them, but you're also wrapping these student parents and modeling for them and allowing them to lead. Like, so when we have that, when they come in for lunchtime, so that's the one piece, when they come in for lunchtime, we're providing lunch, they're eating with their children, there are attachment activities that are happening. So you heard from the last program, infant massage, it may be circle time, but there are different things each day. And so there's a lot of repetition, so they can start to learn what's happening. And so then they can lead once they get ready to and understand what's happening, to be able to lead and build those attachments with their children. And so in that, you know, there are times when there are, you know, our student parents, we learn to discipline based on what we've learned in our household. And so it's really important that, you know, we tell our staff that they're not taking, and they've learned, they tell us they're not taking, you know, the children, and they're not doing for the child during that time while the parent is present, but rather they're just supporting and helping kind of from a back seat, if I can say it that way. it's really important that we're just showing our support in how they're doing that. So we're teaching them how to be the best first teacher they can be. And we're showing them that they are, they're important, because sometimes our student parents, because of other messaging, don't feel that they're as important as other parents that are older than them. You can go to the next slide. And so just wanted to share some of the outcomes and outputs that we have had. You can see the number that we've had graduated since, we just had nine graduate this past summer. This graduation rate, we're really proud of our graduation rate. We're currently at 67%, compared to the national rate. And this rate is not our overall rate, it is a cohort rate. So it's a constrained, they come in a cohort and they're counted in that percentage if they graduate with their cohort. And so if we looked at kind of if they graduated all, it would be much higher. And then looking at our family stability program that we talked about with the eviction prevention, these are the numbers here with keeping people stably housed and children in their schools and so on and so on. So you see those numbers there. You can go to the next slide. And so graduation is one of the funnest times of the year. You get to see, all the work that these students have put in, the work that staff have really put in. And so this is just an example here. Graduation in our staff do an incredible job of celebrating not just the parent, but also the children as they're graduating and moving on. And so they get their caps and their gowns, and there's a big celebration for everyone. And we invite the entire family, extended family, to that graduation. You can go to the next slide. So you just see, this is our newer center in West Baltimore. We've expanded based on the success of our, the one in South Baltimore, just a classroom learning experience. You can go to the next slide. You see our next speaker, excited to introduce her, kind of on the left side in the classroom, and on the right side, just some engagement. This is a special event we had and had moms, we serve moms and fathers, and are very intentional about our language and colors we use and all of that to make sure that fathers feel included. So we don't use pregnant, we use expectant. We try to stay kind of neutral on colors if possible. There are a whole lot of things like that, but we try to be thoughtful about to make sure they're comfortable. You can go to the next slide. And so we'd love you to look at this video that starts to introduce our next dynamic speaker.
When it comes to this job, I love it so much. Even at 5:30 in the morning, I really take pride in my job. In 2013, I wasn't working a regular job. I was about to lose my house, and electric turned off, and it was pretty hard times for it. But anyway, United Way, man, they had all these programs. They had a lady there to help you with resumes, to help you get a job, getting your credit right. And they had like 10 or 12 programs that I participated in. So then up at the Ben Franklin High School, they were starting a daycare center. And I said, man, I'll be your janitor. I'll do whatever you need me to do. And they needed a driver. Turned out to be a great job, I'm telling you. It's not just a job for me, so. The girl I'm picking up now, she is such a good mother, such a good student. I really think a lot of this young lady. Hi, Anthony. Good morning, Miss Carmela.
Hi, people. I wake up at 4:30. We get dressed. I fix breakfast. We be on the bus an hour and probably 45 minutes because we don't get to school till 7:45.
Look at the beautiful sunrise. Bye-bye. See you later, honey.
Anthony was about 3 months. when I came to sign him up for daycare so I can get transferred here. They helped me out a lot with Anthony. After that, all my grades, they went up. They way better than I had before I even came here. All my grades is A's and B's. I'm looking at colleges now, so I can go to college. Before I even came here, I wasn't even thinking about college. The school is just it's like family. That's how I look at it. Like some of my counselors, I can say social workers, they don't only just do their job, but I feel like they love you too. Oh my God.
So you can go to the next slide. We are going to introduce Miss Carmela Davis, who is just an incredible young lady who is a former participant with us and is now a child care aide at the center. And we are so glad to have her. So welcome, Carmela. You have the floor. We'd love for you to tell us, Carmela, about your experience with the Family Center.
So my experience with the Family Center was very awesome and great, and I seriously appreciated everything that was going on and how much the staff was just so dedicated and supportive, and like they came in and they did their jobs for us, every day, and it was amazing because coming from a background that you had light support, and then you come into this program and everybody is your support system, and it was just a wonderful feeling, a wonderful experience, and yeah. So even though it's wonderful, you have to be dedicated as a student. Yeah, like I was waking up 4:30 in the morning every day, so it's not easy, but they give you the tools and they give you this great layout of, we can do this for you, and you have to meet them halfway. You have to put in the work. You have to go to school. You have to come every day. You have to provide that hardship of, I got this. Let me motivate myself to get up every day, and yeah, they are there to support you. Like anything educational that I needed help with, even talking about grades, they was there and they supported. Even if they didn't have the answer, they found somebody else that had the answer. Even talk to our teachers, they helped us in any way they could. And what I learned from the experience was, not only being a teen, but being a teen mother is very, very hard. And they give you different ideas because we do talk. Like as a student and interacting with the staff, we all talk, and they allow us to have a voice. And it's a very good experience because it's some things that you don't know as a teen mother and or a teen father, and you learn so many different things, and it's certain things that stick with you for life, and especially the circle of security. I still use it today with my son. And Anthony Progress been very awesome. He is very silly. He asks questions about everything. Class wise, he's doing so great, and he's doing really good. He's doing wonderful, and he's on track with everything. Yeah.
Carmela, can you tell us what you are doing now and why you came back?
Okay, so I came back because I wanted to give back to teen moms that I like how I was. And it's a wonderful feeling because not only that I'm in the inside and I see what's going on, and I'm really a part of it, and it's very joyful, but it's also hard. And we dedicate ourselves every day to make sure we're supporting not only the babies but the teen mothers too. So it's just another step for them to graduate, and it's appreciative and it's joyful, and we have unlimited dedication in the family center. And the family center is what the name is. Like, the family center is literally the family center. It's love, and it's comfort. It's a secure base. And yeah, it's very great.
Thank you, Carmela. You did an awesome
problem.
job.
Thank you.
So as we continue to move, we just wanted to share during the pandemic quickly, we had to just really quickly be nimble, as everyone else did. As you heard before, just kind of put safety protocols in place very quickly. I think we packed up in person on Friday. By Monday, our staff was providing virtual services. And so we wanted to make sure that our student parents and our babies, they weren't missing a beat. And so our drivers, who are also key, they were literally driving to doorsteps and dropping off no contact delivery. I think we invented that by dropping off care packages. So lessons, everything they needed for their lessons, along with basic needs stuff. So food and diapers and wipes and all of those things. So and that continued while for a number of months while we were deep in the pandemic. We have gone through a number of staffing challenges, as have many that are in the same field, trying to make sure that we're fully staffed. And so we've had staff that have been stretched, and through that have made sure that we have coordinated even closer with our partners, because we don't do this work alone. We do it with partners that are incredible, that provide additional services and supports to our families, and also with donors that we have that support this work, that help us to keep it moving. You can go to the next slide. And so just wanted you all to see just really quickly other parent reflections and you can read those yourselves, that we have received in their own words, how the center has impacted them. And so we always just try to hear from them, what's happening, what they want to see shifted, and what the impact is on them. And these are just a few reflections from them. And finally, our last slide is our contact information. So please feel free to reach out if you have further questions or need anything, want to know how to get started or keep things going or whatever, anything that you've heard, feel free to reach out and we will get back to you. And so I'm going to pass it back over to Ms. Diaz.
Thank you, Heather. So hope everybody can hear me okay. So here are a few lessons learned through, our work. One is, I mentioned it, flexibility with programming is really essential. Being able to modify the schedule to meet the needs of the community you serve has been why a lot of our programming has been successful. We've done parent surveys to identify what topics of parent education they're interested in, and what days of the week and morning, noon or afternoon or evening, weekend hours, to kind of we at one point we have early literacy workshops, and they weren't really being highly attended. And then we found out that parents wanted them on the weekends. So we modified our schedule, and then we got a lot more parents engaged in the weekends, and we offered some evening sessions as well. So again, modifying programming based on the changing participant needs will sustain the engagement, because the community needs change. And the pandemic was definitely like highlighted that even more. So dedicated resources are needed to meet these changing needs. And as a regional nonprofit, we do have access to other resources that maybe a smaller nonprofit doesn't, but also engaging with like private foundations, seeking resources in different avenues will always support the growing need that this work demands. Another key thing that we've learned through our work is staffing, making sure that the personnel has like we try our best to hire folks who are from the community or have been working in other similar nonprofits serving the particular population, young parents. And of course, you know, for us, being bilingual is like a requirement for like employment, because we serve around 70 to 80% monolinguals, like Spanish speaking. So for us, you know, that is just essential for, you know, serving the community that we serve. And then another key thing to learn is that, you know, this work cannot be done alone. Like it definitely cannot be done alone. And you should, you know, engage your broader network on these larger scale projects. I can definitely emphasize when Heather was saying about the contactless drop-off. We struggle with that a bit. I think we struggled more than we had to. Like we were doing that like in March through maybe May, and then we realized, you know what, this is a need. Families need, you know, food delivered to their homes. So we advocated and asked one of our funders if they can reach out to DoorDash, which is like a food delivery provider where they deliver food on the app. So we actually established a partnership with them, and they've been supporting us now to this day to deliver food and resources to 50 families on a weekly basis since like 2020. So again, this work cannot be done alone. Seek out help from other FRCs and other CBOs when, you know, when possible. I think that's all I have to share. If you want to continue with your lessons learned, Heather.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So it's really important to hire. We have found to hire relationally. So you just heard Carmela share her experience when she was part of the Family Center with just how incredible the staff is. And so, you know, I fully believe that you can, people can learn skills. They cannot learn how to be relational and really help our student parents be comfortable and be willing to share and feel welcome. And so we are big on hiring relational. I'm passing the next one to Carmela to share. We're going to kind of go back and forth a little bit on the next ones. Carmela, you got the next one?
Yes. So the dedication and time. So I'm going to talk about the dedication and time. Dedication is very important, and you have to put the time in to, you know, to build anything that you want to, you know, get to, or any way you want to go. And the feedback builds advocacy and leadership skills by, you know, by just asking them questions. And when you ask them questions, certain questions about, you know, what should we do, or what shouldn't we do, or what should stay the same or change, it helps everyone to just be better within the group. Miss Heather, if you want to piggyback on anything I said.
Sure. I mean, I think you said it well, and you said it well when you were speaking before, Carmela, about just how you felt when you felt that you had a voice in the program, and I think that's important because, again, many I met many and have talked to a lot of our parents when they first came in, and you see a lot of folks who, they have their head down and won't look at you. I mean, just don't feel that they matter as a parent, and don't feel that they can advocate for themselves or their children. And we want to shift that. And so making sure that time is dedicated. And when we opened, and we didn't open that way, I would say our first year or so wasn't like that. And we found that we really need to add this component in. It's really important to make sure that there's a regular feedback loop, so that as we're coming up with ideas, they are a part of the ideas. So, if there are peers that are having trouble coming regularly, how are our participants a part of building out the solution? So there was a time when I would sit with you guys, and we would talk about, like, what does that look like? And we built out an attendance incentive program. And the ideas came from the participants, from like Carmela and their peers, and they came up with incredible ideas. And then we circle back to staff implemented it. They put a board up for that to happen. And so that's really important. Emphasizing the importance of, really making sure that happens from the start instead of later on. That was a lesson learned for us. You want to go, Carmela, the next one around kind of how important it is for to lift up needs and policy?
So the needs and policies, consider the I think Ms. Heather, you should take this one.
Okay, I got you. So what we have done is find out that, and again, this was started later on, but there are unique needs that teen parents, student parents have. And so we in Maryland, Annapolis is where our state house is. And so there have been several policy issues that have come out that we have educated our student parents on, and they have written letters. We've taken a couple of them down to testify and explain why it's so important for policy to shift to help make things more accessible to them, to make education more accessible, and to make sure that their voices are heard and they're considered in it, because there are more student parents than people often talk about and realize. And so that's, I think, really important to engage, not just the day-to-day, but looking at those larger macro issues as we're doing it, making sure we're engaging the entire household. I think we talked about that already, the multi-generational approach, and then recognizing that serving and supporting teen parents, it is absolutely different than just supporting, your average parent. They're just unique needs. And it's a heavy lift. We love them, but it is a heavy lift that takes special people who are dedicated to doing that. And so it's just a thing to remember when folks are going into that work. Passing it on to Robin.
Thank you so much, Heather, Carmela, and Rosaura. That was wonderful. Thank you all so much for sharing. I'd like to turn to our question and answer section or session portion of today's webinar before we wrap up with a few announcements and then with an evaluation at the end. So one question that we have is for all of you is, what are some special events or incentives to have teen parents come together?
That's a great question. We like to kind of like offer like gift cards, but beyond that, we like to plan activities that they're already interested in doing. We do a lot of like field trips, like in the summertime, pre-COVID and now into the summer. We hope to take youth to like different activities that are like sports events, ice skating, going to the zoo, like things that they would be interested in attending. So not necessarily directly answering the question as incentives, but kind of like try to focus the programming more geared towards their interest. But also we do a lot of gift card raffles, so that always perks interest.
Definitely.
Carmela?
we also do this. Well, not with the raffles, but we do a lot of festival events at the daycare center and at the family center, and we just had one this coming, I think, October, for our parents and our their babies, and we did like a pumpkin patch with a lot of hay, and we did the pumpkins inside the hay, and we did like a food tasting with like, like apple pie and stuff, and they really enjoyed that. We did a photo booth for them, so they could take pictures of their children. And we also got one coming up this month also. So we always excited to do festival things for them, and they are very appreciative. Also, they love doing the little the festival parties. Yeah.
It's great. Thank you so much, Carmela. I see another question in the chat that is regarding the presenter contact information. And I did just want to mention that the presentation will be uploaded to the Dropbox file within just a few hours. And that includes contact information for all three presenters so that you're able to reach out to them about any sort of collaborations or questions that you may have. And then I also see another question. This is a little bit hybrid both for all of our presenters because it's asking about California, asking if California has programs like this. So I'm thinking with teen parents. So yes, with Felton. And then which branches of United Way in California could help teen parents? If any of you have if any of our presenters have information on that, please feel free to share. Otherwise, I will also be able to do a little bit of research and get back to you as well on that. But just in case any of our presenters have information.
Specifically about family resource centers, I'm just really familiar with the work that we do in San Francisco. However, I was affiliated with like a statewide group, like working group with Planned Parenthood, and they do similar programming with like wraparound services for teen parents. And they're kind of like in every kind of like county in California.
That's great.
And I'm not sure of I can definitely ask and circle back, Robin. I'm not sure if because United Ways are regional and have different focuses. We're the only United Way that I know of that focuses specifically on teen parents with this initiative, but I can definitely I can reach out to colleagues and we can look, check to see if there's one in California who does any similar work.
That would be great. And I can get back to our participant with that information. And then let's see, we'll take one more question here. I know that we're a little bit over time, but this is also a great question. What strategies have you found that work to get fathers engaged in services?
One, hire male staff. That was key when we hired a male staff member. He was able to kind of like plan and lead some of our support groups for our fathers, but also just engage with them in a different way. We also partnered, I think it was like in 2018, where I was like, enough is enough, where we need to really engage fathers. Like we keep saying that it's a need, but I was like, let's spend this year and really focus on it. And we partnered with other CBOs who were successful in doing like men support groups, and then co-facilitated like a series. So reaching out to the experts in your community who do that work great, to bring them into your space if you're having a hard time like engaging in that population. Beyond that is plan activities that they want to go to. We did a summer where we went to like baseball games, Warriors, bowling, more male-friendly activities, which in San Francisco, gender is like very fluid over here. So like just activities that would be like accessible to everyone.
Yeah, I would totally co-sign on all of that, and would also just add we do work around co-parenting. And so making sure that that they know, you don't have to be together, continue to be together if you're going to be great parents together. And so doing that work with both the mother and the father. And so that has been helpful as well in that work, I think, to pull fathers in. And I think the some of the events that Carmela mentioned, the family events, because some of our fathers, we see sometimes them working or being other places more than our moms. And so how are we looking at the time that we're doing events and things like that to make sure that they can be included in some of those things as well.
Thank you so much. Thank
I
you.
have, I have one more I forgot to mention, is that we also recruited like a father that was like our chairperson to really like advocate and reach out to other fathers. So like you just need one to kind of like bring more into programming. That's one strategy we used as well.
That is a great point. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you to our presenters, to Carmela, to Heather, and to Rosaura. I'm just going to take 2 quick moments of everyone's time to go over a couple of announcements, and then make sure to stick around because we have an evaluation at the end. Super important that you fill that out because we do take your feedback into consideration when we're planning our future webinars and planning this work. So first of all, we have other webinars coming up this month. And next month, we have our Family Resource Center Learning Hub launch on November 30th. This is awesome. This has been a long time in the works, planning with Families Canada as well, in collaboration with Casey Family Programs as well. This is a huge hub of resources for family resource centers that are going to be available. So make sure that you sign up on nationalfamilysupportnetwork.org for that webinar. We also have the Standards of Quality for Family Strengthening and Support Implementation with Georgia Family Support Network on December 7th. And then on December 14th, we have Uncovering America's Best Kept Secret Family Resource Centers and Family Resource Center Networks. If you are interested in training, we have 2 different trainings. First, we have the standard certification training on the standards of quality for families strengthening and support. Make sure to register by later this month, and that is happening on December 1st and 2nd. You can also register at nationalfamilysupportnetwork.org. And I see that Julie is dropping those in the chat as well. Thank you so much, Julie. And then the final training that we offer is developing and sustaining effective parent advisory committees training. So again, in this webinar, we talked a lot about the importance of family voice and parent voice and family centeredness. So we have that training happening on the 15th and 16th of December. This is a really highly rated virtual training for program staff to maximize the great potential of parent advisory committees. So make sure to visit the website or the link in the chat to sign up for that. Finally, the NFSM provides a multitude of resources such as Family Resource Center overviews, research reports, sample requests for proposals, evaluations, all sorts of things that could be very useful to you in your planning, your implementation, in your family resource centers, and even if you're getting started. We have snapshots of our member networks in those 36 states and the District of Columbia. So if you're interested to know what networking is happening within your state, please visit our website and check those out. And then we also, in addition to that, we do provide technical assistance for Family Resource Center network development. So please reach out to us if you would have any questions on that or if you would like any technical assistance. Finally, my contact information is here. You can also visit us at nationalfamilysupportnetwork.org. Again, there will be an evaluation that is going to pop up on your screen in just a few moments here that will include questions about identifying next steps that we would be able to support you with. So thank you all for your participation today. Thank you to our wonderful presenters. Hope to see you all in a webinar again soon, and take good care.